Good morning, and welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show right here on TV 33, WHPR, Comcast 90 and 91 in Detroit, Oakland County, Livingston County, and all over the world, courtesy of the World Wide Web. I have two Brenda Perryman shows for you today. This is my first one, and I have some special guests this morning on this show. And then on the second show, I have some great information. Well, great information is going to be given on this show. And then on the last segment of the next show, we're going to talk about Sunday's Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame. I'm excited about that, and that event is sold out, so it should be interesting. I will be your on-the-spot reporter for that, and I will be posting pictures and all of that good stuff. But first and foremost, I'd like to introduce my first guest, and my first guest is someone I've known quite a while, and good guy. I'd like to introduce Southfield City Councilman Dr. Ken Siver. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Brenda. How are you?
Oh, fine, fine, fine. How you doing? You've been out on the campaign trail, huh?
Yes, we have. We kicked off our campaign for mayor in March, and we have been working at it ever since.
Well, let's talk a little about Southfield. So much has happened in Southfield. Well, you're retired from Southfield Public Schools now, right?
After 45 years, I retired in September 2011.
45 years.
Kind of a record.
Yeah, that is kind of a record. Some people don't even live to be 45. But anyway, 45 years. So you came to Southfield as what?
I came to Southfield in 1967 as a 21-year-old teacher assigned to Thompson School, teaching English and American history and journalism.
And from there, because you've held several jobs in the district.
Well, I became, in 1986, the information director, and then in 2004, deputy superintendent of schools.
Yes, yes, yes. So you've seen a lot of changes in Southfield.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I arrived, everything was new. I was teaching in a new school. I was living in a brand new apartment building. The roads were new, and Southfield was a boom town in the 60s. Matter of fact, it was the fastest growing city in Michigan for a whole number of years.
Wow. I remember 10 Mile and Lasser. I was in 1966. I was in a funeral procession going to
Holy Sepulchre?
Holy Sepulchre, because we're Catholic and it was a Catholic
Right.
Funeral procession. And I'll never forget, I said, wow, where is this? Where am I? And I was a passenger in the car, and we were getting ready to make a left onto 10 Mile from Lasser. And this lady ran a light and hit the car, and so we all had to go to the hospital. We never made it to the funeral, to the cemetery, but it's so funny that I ended up teaching right on 10 Mile and Lasser.
At Southfield High.
Those years later, when I say, where was this? That became my everyday thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of changes were happening in Southfield. Well, like you said, it was like state of the art. It was a state of the art community. And it had one high school at the time, didn't it?
Lathrop opened 67.
Oh, it opened in 60.
They started phasing in the students. Right.
Because they said so many students were in Southfield High that
Right.
they had to open up another.
Yeah, one time there were over 3,000 students at Southfield High.
Okay. So the community of Southfield itself, because my brother moved there in the 70s, it has been a ever-changing community.
Well,
right?
nothing stays the same,
Right.
and to me, Southfield is a wonderful place to live. I have wonderful neighbors. I know so many people in the community, and we all get along. It's very, very diverse. Even within our African American community, there's great diversity. Southfield has a Jamaican population, has many Nigerian
I know.
who are in the schools. They're just wonderful students.
Right.
A lot of emphasis on doing well in school in the Nigerian community.
Right. that's their mantra, kind of, too.
Yeah.
And what made you decide to run for city council?
Well, back in 2001, I had I've always been interested in politics, and then in 2001, Brenda Lawrence was running for mayor, and I supported her, and she supported me for council, and I ended up getting elected to fill her seat on city council. And
And Brenda Lawrence, as you know, is now
Congresswoman.
Congresswoman.
Yeah.
And during the interrogation of the Planned Parenthood lady the other day, I saw Brenda Lawrence sitting right there. I
Yeah.
said, wow, she's come a long way from the school board, hasn't she?
Yes, and just to do a segue for a minute, Brenda is living her dream. She always wanted to be a congresswoman, and Brenda, as a freshman congresswoman, is seeing so much history with the Pope coming before Congress, Speaker Boehner resigning, the Iran nuclear deal, the Planned Parenthood debacle, and so on. It's another threat to shut down the government. It's it really, as I said to her earlier this week, you're living a lot of history.
A lot of history, a lot of history.
But getting back to 2001, I had decided to run because I live in Magnolia
I thought it
neighborhood.
was 2004 when you ran the first time.
No, I ran.
Oh.
I was Brenda ran for mayor in 2001,
And
then I took her seat on council. But I decided to run that year because when I looked at the representation on city council and on in the administration of the city of Southfield, there was nobody there below 10 Mile. And I live in a wonderful neighborhood, Magnolia neighborhood,
Right.
which abuts 8 Mile Road and Southfield. And so I felt that that was we needed some South End representation.
right.
And I sort of ran on that along with other things, but I was successful. I came in third that year in a field of 11, first time running, and I was reelected in 2005, 2009, 2013.
Right, so you've been kind of devoted, huh?
Absolutely.
And what are some of the things that you see that Southfield's facing right now?
Well, right now, I have been out in the neighborhoods. We started knocking on doors on June 20th. We've done over 10,000 doors to speak to residents. And while this isn't scientific, it certainly is substantial in what you hear over and over again. And the number one thing that I hear from residents is roads. Number two is code enforcement, and the third thing is landlords who are not doing their part. We have many more rental properties in Southfield today than years ago because of the housing crisis of several years back. And some of the, and I'm not going to make a blanket statement that every rental home or landlord.
But some renters don't take care of their places, and landlords don't back that up by,
Exactly, and some of the landlords should be a little more selective in who they rent to. I have said to
What do you mean by selective?
well, it's better to have to leave the apartment or the house vacant than just rent to someone who really is not going to take care of the property. We have seen properties damaged, and it also drives good tenants away in apartment buildings. If you have to be a little selective. And I don't mean that to sound biased. It's just there needs to be some screening, and are these, and of course you never fully know who is how they're going to turn out.
Who's going to take care and who's
Yeah.
not. The reason why I asked you that was because as a child, my mother was a renter,
Mm-hmm.
but we always took care of the place. And so she had a good relationship with the landlord and everything because she paid on time, always
Sure.
took care of the place. Sometimes there's some people who want to get in to a place and they have no vested interest in the place,
Exactly.
and they don't take care of it. And like you said, it does run
Yeah.
people out.
Yeah. Well, and again, I don't want to make a broad generalization. I was a renter before I bought a home, so obviously many people start as renters before they
Right,
become
right,
homeowners,
absolutely.
and it is it's really about what we're seeing is some of the landlords are not taking care of their property. The tenant can be fine, but it's the landlord that is taking the money for the rent
And just letting it go.
and let the roof leak or
Right.
not address mowing the lawn or things like this. And
But the one thing about it, Ken, is when you have a renter in the house, sometimes it's very hard to get rid of them too, isn't it? If you find out they're tearing up stuff or.
I know that we have a number of landlord-tenant cases in 46th District Court, which, by the way, have declined
Okay.
from years ago. That's something that I monitor. But yeah, it's an eviction process or whatever. But
Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, I don't want to dwell on the negative
No.
because I'm really very positive about so many things. But when I mention these three top issues, this is what people are asking.
I was going to go
or
back to the
telling.
roads,
Yeah.
because last year was debacle over
Yeah.
in front of Northland. It was like
Absolutely.
I felt like I was in an army movie. I was dodging all but it's so nice now. It is beautiful.
That was interesting. Greenfield Road is a county road. And we did not, the city of Southfield, the only way we got that repaired was to threaten to shut the southbound lanes of Greenfield down because we felt it was dangerous.
Yeah.
And what had happened there was the road had been redone about 15 years ago, and consequently the northbound lanes, the cement was fine. The cement failed on the southbound lanes, which were in Southfield.
That's true.
And even though it's a county road, every time the county, and we have multiple county roads in Southfield, every time the county redoes a road, their hand is out to the city of Southfield. In this case, over $600,000, our share of
The road
fixing
costs.
the road. That comes from our local road fund that could have been spent had the job been done properly
Okay.
on local streets.
Okay. But it's really nice.
It is nice.
And there's a lot that's going on as far as the roads in Southfield. There's a lot of. What about on Greenfield? You have the roundabouts. I mean Evergreen.
Right.
They're roundabouts.
We are, last November, the voters in Southfield approved a $99 million bond issue for roads. We could no longer wait for Lansing to come up with a road solution. We have something called Act 51, and Act 51 is supposed to be state revenue shared with local communities. Well, that has come down to a trickle of what it used to be. And so we asked the voters, and it passed by 72%. And we have a tremendous amount of road work going on in Southfield. But to specifically address Evergreen, the other thing that the city has done is sought grants. And the Evergreen project between 10 and 11 Mile Road is a $13 million project. It has now become a boulevard, all new water lines, sewer lines. We had a lot of drainage issues. And we have the median with landscaping, benches, and
Yeah, it's changed. It's beautiful. It's going to be beautiful.
and even all the street amenities, the wider sidewalks, the 10-foot sidewalks that have been installed. All of those, that's all grant money that either is federal money or other sources. The other thing I was going to say about Evergreen is some people do not like roundabouts, but you'll get used to them. And the reason we have roundabouts is that this is what the grantor said, we'll give you the money if you put roundabouts in.
Oh, that's
So,
how that happened.
yes, and actually there'll be fewer accidents or serious accidents in
I
roundabouts.
I get in the roundabout. I said, "What do I do? What do I do?"
Well,
But it's been good because I've come to that one quite a few
they're
times.
safe. They're really safer. People have to slow down, but you're not stopped, and that's why the government is pushing this, because it burns less fuel. You're not idling and pollution while waiting for a light to change.
Oh, okay, now I can tell people because
Yeah.
we talk about that. Now, as far as safety, and one of your points here is you want to continue to maintain a strong and safe community. Could you
Exactly.
speak to that?
Well, we have an excellent police force, and
Eric Hawkins.
as our chief, and you
Yes.
remember Eric as a youth officer
Yeah.
at Southfield High. We
In
both
fact,
worked with him.
Eric used to get me and one of my actors, or several of my actors, we used to go over to the secret house over, I won't say where it is, in Southfield, and they'd test police officers on hostage negotiations and all of that good
Yeah.
stuff. And I played a hostage, and it was just fun to how they throw the phone into the house and so forth.
Eric is a great believer in community policing. We put a lot of emphasis on community policing, and we have a citizens police academy. We also have where people come and learn. It puts a human face on the police department. A thing that's coming up that Eric initiated is called Coffee with a Cop. It'll be
Oh, really?
at Tim Hortons. No speeches. You just come in and sit down, a number of officers, and you have a cup of coffee. You talk about what's going on. And the good news in Southfield is that violent crime is down for the 8th year. It's down by 72%.
That's
And
good.
we're very, very proud of that. And we're also very proud of our police department, because they are very sensitive to the community, and they interact very well with the citizenry.
That's excellent when the police, the community doesn't see them as an adversary.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Ex-
very important.
exactly.
Now, Northland is gone, and Northland at one time brought a lot of a big tax. They were a big tax base, weren't they?
True. And today it's going to be reimagined.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you about, because people ask about that property because for so many years that was the go-to mall.
We all have a lot of history with North.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely. And I shot there to the end because I live right near the mall. But retail has changed greatly.
Yeah.
You don't see stores the size of the Macy's at Northland anymore. Also, you have a greater emphasis on online shopping. You have a lot of competition, and so Northland has lost its way, so to speak. The economic base that supported that mall has moved elsewhere. Exactly, and so what we see in the future is a mixed-use development with retail on the outskirts. The great thing about the Northland property is that you've got 2 freeways there. You've got 2 mile roads. The infrastructure is all there. The service drive has just been rebuilt. Greenfield rather, has been rebuilt. So the infrastructure is great. You've got the hospital there. You've got OCC, and you've got a number of office buildings. So there's a lot there. So we're hoping to see, in partnership with Providence Hospital, the redevelopment of that property. Providence Hospital is looking at possibly, there's no deal yet, but possibly taking some of the property because they need more parking. and as you may know, Providence Hospital has a heart institute.
Yes.
And that heart institute, they would like to build a major wellness and fitness center. And so that could be, and again, it's not anything definite, but there's talk of that, of Providence Hospital taking some of the Northland property.
Yeah, it's funny. You didn't notice how big it was until everything was gone and you passed by and all the empty lots and all of that.
Sure.
I remember when they had puppy land out there, so many things that,
Yeah,
like you
it was
say,
an innovative mall.
it was an innovative mall and was the first
Right.
enclosed mall, wasn't it? Because I remember walking out there when there was no roof on
Yeah,
it.
it was the first modern shopping center. It opened in March of 1954. And then the Victor Gruen, who designed the mall, went on to do the mall in Minneapolis that was enclosed. And then in '74, Northland was enclosed. But what has to happen is the mall needs to be torn down, the
Right.
property redeveloped. And it's a little complicated because Macy's owns Macy's. Triumph Church owns the old Pennies.
Right.
Target still owns Target. And believe it or not, a blast from the past, Montgomery Ward
Yeah.
still has property at Northland. So those issues all have to be cleaned
Ironed
up
out, yeah.
before the property really can be redeveloped.
So what do you see for the future as far as economic growth?
I see, well, I'm very bullish on Southfield. We're seeing a return of, or an increase in the occupancy in the major office buildings. A number of the service, no service strip office buildings have vacancies. But the big towers are filling again.
Yeah.
We've had a number of companies relocate to Southfield. Some went downtown with the magnet of Dan Gilbert, but Covacent has come back to Southfield where it started. Fifth Third Bank is not totally leaving Southfield. They are going to keep a presence in Southfield. But Hello World has moved to Southfield.
What is that?
It's an e-marketing company that's grown exponentially. Also, Durr, the German automotive supplier, is building a $40 million R&D center behind the old DTE service center on Northwestern Highway.
Wow. So what can we do? What can you do? I mean, to help move more businesses there? Is it about marketing when you talk about businesses?
I think we have to step up our marketing. Southfield has great services, and with all the infrastructure work that we're doing, and the fact that we are wired, totally wired community
for
the internet, and our location is phenomenal. Plus, Southfield does not have an income tax, a city income tax, and we have tons of free parking.
Oh, yeah. Free parking, that lures me anywhere. Free parking and close parking, that lures me anywhere.
Exactly.
Now, you have a large senior community, don't you, there?
Yes, I do.
My mother, in fact, is in a nursing home in Southfield.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Our community is getting older. But I do want to talk about one of the things I'm very, very proud of.
What?
As a councilman, I would get complaints from time to time from some of the residents of our senior apartment complexes. They were saying, well, there's no hot water, or the elevator is out, or the heat, or the windows are very drafty. And so in 2010, I was just so tired of hearing these complaints. I didn't need another job, but I took on took a seat on the Southfield Nonprofit Housing Board, and we have turned that whole situation around. And I'm now the chair of the Nonprofit Housing Board. I led a team of people in refinancing McDonald Towers and River Park Place, and we are now spending $37,000 per unit on rehabbing hundreds of apartments for low-income seniors. They're getting all new kitchens. They are getting all new bathrooms, all of the new windows, the new utilities, even and everything is LEED certified, low energy, low flush toilets that are higher so that it's easier to get up and down on the commode, which it's a reality.
That is a reality.
Yeah.
You learn that
Yeah.
the older you
Yeah.
get, you know.
Well,
bring
especially
that
if you have
toilet up high.
hip problems or anything like that. We're also converting a whole number of units to total handicap units with wider doors for wheelchairs. So this is really, these
Well,
are.
you've always been kind of close to the McDonald Towers.
Oh yeah, we've always done
You used to bring them to the plays and so forth.
Absolutely. I believe in intergenerational sharing, and we did pen pals. We did senior night at the school plays that you
Right.
directed.
Yeah.
The concerts, or I'd bring the one of the novel things that we did, we'd bring students over and we'd do a senior prom. Right,
Yeah,
and the seniors loved it.
Student council would come over.
At the holidays, we'd bring the concert choir over.
Yes.
And one of my favorite things was to bring the elementary kids in kindergarten, first grade on Halloween
Right.
in their costumes.
And let the seniors see them.
Yeah, and give them little
candy.
treats and things like that. So, yeah, so I'm anyhow, back to renovating these buildings. There were no security cameras.
No.
So this is a total remake of these apartments. And just because you're low income doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a quality place to live. I'm a real believer in something I call the Southfield Standard. We need to maintain our community with the standards that we've had for years in the way of service delivery, appearances, code, safety, security, anything that has to do with quality of life.
Now the National Council of Mayors, it's something like that. That's the title, is something like that. They're meeting this weekend. But I thought about people, mayor of Highland Park and mayors of Southfield, to be whoever that will be, next year, going to, because they were talking about questioning the candidates who are running for the presidency and so forth. If you had to question, say, one of the candidates, what would be your question? If you had to, of a concern, a major concern you have, one question, a major concern in your community.
I am concerned about the way federal money is allocated. A lot of local communities need support, and what we have seen over the last decade is a shrinking of federal dollars in the way of community development. Block grant money is way down, and the same thing at the state level. Our governor has touted that he's balanced the budget, and he's balanced the budget on, and I don't mean to get too political here, but the truth is, he has balanced the budget on the backs of school districts and
Right.
local communities.
Right.
Our revenue to the city of Southfield is down by a third, the state shared revenue, and the same can be said about the federal support for local communities. So what happens? We have to tax ourselves more if we want to maintain our police force,
Right.
if we want to maintain our fire department. They talk a lot about homeland security. First responders are your local people.
Right, right.
And yet we have been on the short end of this revenue sharing, state and federal dollars. So that would be my number one concern. I mean, I have real questions about the priorities of how money is spent.
How could people get in touch with you if they have any questions?
Well, I have a website that is www.wKen mayor.com, and you can see on there all of my priorities. There are about 14 of them. Also, I'm on Facebook at Ken Siver 4, number 4 mayor. at Facebook. And I always give out my home phone number. I'm listed, so it's 248-569-4286. Call me.
Wow, you're a good one. You're a good one. Well, I wish you luck, but I wanted to find out, I wanted to have you here because I wanted to find out a lot about Southfield. People always ask what's going to become of Southfield. And
I'm very bullish. Our housing prices are going up. Homes that are in good shape and reasonably priced are selling. You get a lot of house for the money in Southfield.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Next, we're going to have Renee King Jackson and friends. They're going to be on in just a minute, and you know Renee can sing. I wish I could sing like her. But anyway, Ken Siver, thank you very
Brenda,
much.
it was wonderful.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure. I enjoy